Hello and welcome to Thaw Talk. My name is Maxidine and I'm the chairman of Arcada Entrepreneurship Society in 2015. This show is created in collaboration with Arcada's Film&TV students and is filmed here live at Arcada's TV studios in Helsinki. With this Thaw Talk, we decided to focus on ourselves and talk about entrepreneurship societies and the startup community in Finland. With over 15 entrepreneurship societies, we're already quite a bunch, and 4 of us are represented here today. Host for the show is Peter Vesterbacka, mighty eagle from Rovio, the guy who brought Angry Birds to the world. Let's get this started.
In 2008, a few students from Aalto visited Stanford University in the States. During their trip, they were truly inspired, and in 2009, Aalto Entrepreneurship Society was founded. From these humble beginnings, the Entrepreneurship Society scene has grown to cover the entire country, from Turku to Rovaniemi. Arcada Entrepreneurship Society was founded a year ago in November 2013 at the Arcada University of Applied Sciences to inspire the students towards entrepreneurship. The diversity among the study lines, nursing, engineering, film and TV, and business, make Arcada the perfect breeding ground for innovation. Some ESs, like Arcada ES, work around a university campus, whereas others, like Boost Turku, cover an entire city and all are non-profit. From this community, events like Tulevaisuuden Suomi, Slush, Summer Accelerators, and hundreds of localized events have been created. The scene has grown explosively, but is still, in many ways, finding its roots and purpose.
Yeah, hi, I'm Peter. I'm the mighty eagle at Rovio, and better known for this little game called Angry Birds that we created 5 years ago. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the local startup scene, and very, very important part of that obviously being the entrepreneurship societies. And there's not only like one of those here in Finland, but I guess it's one of our fastest growing areas. So there's like 15 or so entrepreneurship societies. But yeah, why don't you kind of like tell us who you are and what your ES does?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Elina. I'm the student captain of Helsinki Think Company, and what we're doing is we're building entrepreneurial activities around Helsinki University. It's a university which obviously has a huge potential when it comes to entrepreneurship and changing the world. We have 11 faculties from medical science to bio and environmental sciences. We have the maybe the best innovation potential there is, just not taken to action yet, and that's what we're doing.
So getting competitive here already, so like the best, okay? So what do you think about that?
Well, it's hard to speak after her because she was me last year.
Right.
But yeah, my name is Kasper, Suomalainen, and I'm the president for Aalto ES, which stands for Aalto Entrepreneurship Society for this year, and we're the largest student and entrepreneurship community in Europe. And what we do in practice is organize about 120 events a year related to entrepreneurship. So different kinds of pitching events, networking events, hackathons, a summer accelerator program, only for students or recent graduates, and stuff like that. And yeah, what else? Well, this year we've had 124 events and nearly 10,000 attendees. Mm-hmm. So it's going good so far.
Yeah, biggest in Europe. It sounds like a good start, as I would
say.
It's
a good start.
But yeah, you know, so we still have like some way to go to be like biggest on the planet. But you know, that's pretty good. Yeah. So what about you?
Cheers, Peter. Thanks. The bar has been set high by Kasper.
Yeah.
My name is Leo. I'm the chairman of Boost Turku Entrepreneurial Society. Also, we're from Southwest Finland, and we're also running an accelerator program. We are the second oldest entrepreneurial society of Finland. We also began in 2009. The biggest difference between Boost Turku and other programs is that we encompass several universities. We have Swedish-speaking, Finnish-speaking, we have applied science and university. And in the area of Turku, we have about 40,000 students. So that's the biggest competitive advantage the Southwest Finland probably provides. And more these students have come to realize that the university doesn't provide them with the possibility to develop their like hands-on concrete business skills to get into the working life that they now want to get into. So we also we run about 100 plus events every year. We have an accelerator program which has launched 40 companies, out of which 20 still exist. We've raised around 6 million euros for those companies since 2009. And yeah, we've managed to employ more than 100 plus people, and the municipalities are extremely happy about it. And now we're working with the city of Turku to develop even a better entrepreneurial society.
Cool. So last but not least.
Yeah, my name is Mathias. I'm the chairman of Arcada Entrepreneurship Society and also part of the founding board there. And we work, as earlier said, at the Arcada campus. We have quite a big diversity on students, but we are quite small, 3,000 students or so here. So from 40,000 in Turku to 3,000 here at Arcada, I would say that is our competitive advantage. We can really focus on the students and do it really local, and we have been able to procentually activate quite a lot of the Arcada students, which I'm really proud of.
Mm-hmm.
You seem to have a great attitude. I've been following you guys, and you're doing stuff well.
Yeah, it's going well. Yeah.
Well, we're sitting here, aren't we?
Yeah. And
great stuff.
Yeah. So, but also we were founded about a year ago, so we have come a long way, but it's good. Nice to have you here.
Brilliant example about a group of people that does pro bono work, does it free of charge.
Yeah.
And often there's a saying that the job goes bad once you start paying for it.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the enthusiasm of your members and the board.
Thanks.
Very cool. So what have you guys achieved so far? So what are you most proud of?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're having a lot of potential around the University of Helsinki, but the problem is that the actions are yet to come. And that's, competitive maybe more hopeful looking at the future. What we've done so far is that we have 2 co-working spaces, one at Viikki campus and one at the center campus of Helsinki University. We're opening a 3rd one in Meilahti, where the med school is next year, so we're expanding pretty fast, trying to reach all the 4 campuses by the end of 2016. We're organizing around maybe 50 events a year, so still a lot less than you guys, but what we have, the best thing this year has been obviously the fact that it's not only anymore run by university or the municipality, but we actually have a strong group of volunteers, students and researchers as well who are building these activities, so that's what I'm most excited about.
So any kind of exciting startups coming out of
Actually, one of the most exciting ones I've seen is actually from med school side. They're building these organic cartilage implants for recovering from knee surgeries. So it's kind of I've been involved in Aalto years before, and it's super more research based compared to anything I've seen before. So that's actually what inspires me in Helsinki Think Company. You actually see that these results of deep research can be taken to action via entrepreneurship.
So are you, actually a bit more on that. So are you run by students or how does it work?
Right now we're run by students and researchers. So basically we try to have researchers be involved in our activities all the time. So we try to talk more about volunteer workers rather than just students.
Sure,
we're not
sure.
only about students. So basically what we do have, we have also paid workers called hosts. So at our co-working spaces, the most, I think, one thing where we differ from others is that there's always someone who greets you when you come over. So we have a 7-member host team who, when you come to Helsinki Think Company, you're like, okay, so I'm interested in entrepreneurship and I have this idea. What am I going to do? There's always someone who says, well, hey, let's talk your idea through. We'll see. We'll give the first feedback, and then we'll see who we can make you, who can help you forward, who you can contact, and how you can get your idea further.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So what Aalto? So you guys started this also. What have you got? What have you achieved?
Well, I think I'll leave the startup life / startup sauna things out of the conversation. But this year,
minimal projects.
This and that. But well, as you guys, as we saw in the intro video as well, I think there was Tulevaisuuden Suomi mentioned, which I think it's the largest panel discussion in Finnish history, in Finnish language done. And actually, yes, this very beautiful lady here was moderating it with me, and we had about 3,200 tickets sold. So that's probably that one thing that, if I had to pick one from the whole year.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually something that's very important, that it's not only about kind of like, okay, the startups and all of that, but really influencing the overall opinion. I think that that's something that we already done a little bit here in Finland, but there's a lot more to be done. So I think that's actually shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah, definitely. We just kind of we don't want to take any political standpoint, but we just kind of wanted to shake the pack up a bit and get some conversation going.
Entrepreneurship societies are a great example of you can show with your example that stuff can be changed by just doing and not like sticking to the discussion part.
Yeah, and it's very much like hands-on, so it's again like getting stuff done. So I think that's always good. So what about you? What's been happening in Turku?
Likewise, we arrange a lot of events. Not to take any away from them, our crown jewel, so to say, is the startup journey that we run. Also, the accelerator program for 9 weeks, and the aim from Boost Turku is that there's a great potential of students. But in order for those students to make a scalable global business, they need to actually have some iron that could harden theirs. So we need to always be thinking of where to get the best professionals over to Turku, how to improve our startups so that they could become, first of all, move over to Helsinki, catch on a bigger scene from Europe, and then go global from there. So we've been helping teams on one hand out, but on the other hand, we're helping out the other organizations. When we're defining what is success for Boost Turku, we actually thought about all the other organizations that are involved, and there's numerous. We're doing work with the Youth Chamber of Commerce Yrittäjät, and they all organize co-events with us. And when they succeed, so to say, so do we. And through this co-work, we develop a concept that is now called Spark Up, which is basically a cluster of everything business-oriented in one spot, which could be a one-stop location for anybody that's interested in entrepreneurship. And basically like scalable place, so you could come in there when you're a student, you could find an incubator or a place that will be suitable for you. And once you climb up the ladder, they will be really close to each other, so there will be really low barriers onto entry for further and further incubation. And yeah, we're doing work with the city of Turku and the startup farm, the space we're working. It was initially 500 square meters, which is moderate. We were housing 10 companies there. But in the upcoming year, it's going to be 1.5K. So the city upped that up. We're taking off the roof. We're having a slide built in there. It's going to be Google-esque. And even the city development officials are going to be moving next door. So they're really thrilled and excited about what's going on in the growth entrepreneurship scene.
Cool. And then like the new kids on the block.
Yeah. I think our biggest achievement is definitely just getting this whole movement going on here at Arcada and sort of tickling it to the students. Like maybe you could think about this. There's at Arcada, there's a really high rate of employment after you graduate. I think it's somewhere like 98% of the people who graduate get a work in their own field after 1 year, so or within 1 year. So the students might not have thought about becoming entrepreneurs in the same way since they have been so actively taken into work life. So our challenge is probably to shake them a bit and say that, okay, it's really good that Arcada has these great numbers, but in the future it might not be this way. I personally think that entrepreneurship might not be an option in the future. We see a lot of things happening in Finland, for example, Nokia laying off, UPM, big companies, and from these we can see that people are starting up new businesses, and I think that's a big thing that we are trying to push into people here at Arcada. Like, even though you can get employed, you should always be able to think in an entrepreneurial mindset. If you work in a small company with just 2 or 3 people, you have to be really close with the entrepreneur, so to say, and be able to possibly help him out and or her. So yeah, but basically just laying the foundation for this whole thing to work, and I think we have managed pretty well, and meeting all of you guys and the rest of the ESS and so on. So I think that building the network for this whole thing has been the greatest achievement this year, for sure.
So how do you guys feel, since you both have universities of applied sciences in your activities, and we're more like university based, and well, especially Helsinki University is a classical university, so we have some job to do. So how do you actually feel? Is it easier to push these things forward in universities of applied sciences, since from my experience they seem to be more open to this type of activities?
Yeah. Definitely there's a shift within the university itself that they want to get more into praxeology, more into hands-on experience. For example, we have a course that runs between the universities, and it's called the startup course, and they're basically doing what people in applied science schools are doing, so basically founding companies and learning, getting ECTs and experience through working on them. So even the university has sort of come to the realization that the paradigm shift in the labor market at the moment is that we can't afford the luxury of just getting one job and having it for the rest of our lives. Yeah. Our competence comes from our ability to develop ourselves constantly learning, focusing on what's the next step. And whether we wanted it or not, dear brothers and sisters, each one of us has actually become a company of its own. Yeah. So you need to sort of, when you pick up entrepreneurial skills at the phase that you're studying, you're hugely more likely to be successful within even a bigger structure once you start sort of innovating within as well.
Very good. But I think that so now we got this kicked off, and there's clearly a lot happening in the different ESEs around Finland. But now for a short kind of like break here, and then we're going to start talking about the startup scene more broadly.
The entrepreneurial scene in Finland is exploding. Slush has been doubling in size year after year, and entrepreneurial societies are popping up like mushrooms after rain. Institutions are taking entrepreneurship seriously and including that in their program. After Nokia sold their mobile division to Microsoft, talk around town has been, is there going to be a new organization that is going to take over Nokia's role, or are there going to be many small companies to fill in? For that, we need a culture that encourages startups. Where do you see your role in this? Will the government play a part in it, or will it stay out?
Yeah, so now we should look at kind of like the state of the startup scene here in Finland. So I think we've said many times that we're off to a good start, but what do you think? Where are we when it comes to kind of like startup development and kind of like scene here in Finland?
I think we're pretty, or you can always say we're pretty well off, but you should always strive for better. So
we should never be happy.
Exactly. But
one Finns, don't say that.
Yeah, no, come on.
One thing I was really happy to see was the MIT Skulltech research, where Finland was selected as in the top 5 in entrepreneurship and innovation. So I think we're off to a very good start, and we've seen obviously a lot of games and clean tech, stuff like that. So I think we just need to even more focus on our core competencies and get everything out of that.
I'm thinking that even when the government is sort of fueling the fire at the moment that everybody's really stoked about it, still the home local market is kind of.
But do you really think that the government is doing anything?
Well,
I mean, like, come on. I mean, if you like actually what Jyrki Katainen, so our kind of like former prime minister, what he said when he was asked that, like, okay, what is happening in Finland, or what happened in Finland with all these startups, and he said that the government has no idea, they don't know what happened, and they had kind of like no role in that, and I think that that's actually a very good answer, and it's also a very honest answer, and I think that what is great about kind of like all the ESEs and like all the grassroots activities, that it's sustainable because you have kind of like real people doing real things, and it's not something that, okay, the government told you to do it. So I would just kind of like question that the government is fueling anything. I think that that's putting it a bit,
Fair.
yeah. But anyway.
I'll comment on that and then I'll finish
Yeah.
my question. And my comment is that in the current market, in order to get jobs, we have this phenomenon called jobless growth. So even though the economy is growing, the amount of work isn't coming up, and we really need small businesses and startups to sort of fill in that void to create new jobs. So eventually, I believe that even in politics, they will have to take startup scene more seriously. But to finish off my question, I was coming to what for me is a fact that the Finnish market on itself is kind of too small to even try out most of your ideas. So even though we have brilliant startups with great potential, do you think our market is just, it doesn't allow them to validate their products far enough?
I think that's a perfect thing, since
Yeah,
they
that's a
should,
good thing.
yeah, since they're aiming globally first. They're going global first, and that's like the only way to make it successful.
Right.
So I think that's being small is a good thing for us, and also another thing, we all know each other.
Yeah.
So basically, if you want to get some help, if you want to get mentoring, if you need to actually get in touch with investors or present your idea to someone to get feedback, there isn't like many people in the map you need to call.
Yeah.
So
In
that's
good and bad. If you screw up, we had this discussion earlier that if you screw up, it's like the opposite. But then, yeah, I think also like with the government, I think again like there's some good things happening. Like I think, for example, Tekes is a good thing. You get some funding, and there's a good thing to get to have the money. I think it's good. Yeah, for many entrepreneurs, like the money might be an issue. So. In that sense, maybe you have a different experience. I haven't been doing so much with Tekes, so I'm not so into that, but maybe you can elaborate on it. But then also, like, as you said, like the startup scene comes from the grassroots level, the people who really does it. And I think like the ES society is pretty much the same, and I've heard it a lot here at Arcada, at least by the admin, that's saying it needs to come from the students, and that's what's really have happened is that it's the student that does the work. No one can sort of push it on the people. The people who has to want to do it themselves.
Yep.
I think one thing that has changed during the last 5 years, for example, is the attitude towards entrepreneurship. That's like the main thing that has changed. People are actually considering becoming entrepreneurs. They're seeing the potential. They're actually seeing that if you want to make a change in the world in a pretty fast pace, being an entrepreneur is a way to that, not actually going to politics or trying to do it via formal structures. So that's a great thing. Looking at from the actual, statistical side, there aren't that many startups yet. So one thing is that we need more startups. It's great that we have the attitude. It's great that we have the ecosystem or infrastructure or whatever you might want to call these ESs and everything. But we really need more entrepreneurs. It's like, how many of us are entrepreneurs? I've been a freelancer.
Yeah.
You have your family company. You
projects,
obviously. But basically, it's great that we're talking about these things, but it's also us who need to get down to the business and do it.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard work that we have to do. Getting people interested.
In some countries, it varies what kind of dirty word entrepreneurship is. For example, in Russia, when you talk to people and you talk about entrepreneurship, inevitably there's a sort of image of a guy that's trying to sell you something and sort of trying to get under your skin just to fool you. But we're sort of seeing this shift in Western countries where entrepreneurship is connected to self-realization. It means that basically the change that we're going through, you need to figure out what your niche is and be able to exploit it on a very small particular level. And for example, the way that companies or corporations are working now, they're not really interested in operations. The way that they get onto the market is that they buy so that they conglomerate. They think on the advantages of scale. So they no longer develop their own services. They basically go out, look for entrepreneurs that are successful enough, incorporate those successful entrepreneurs into their businesses, and that's how they focus on the scale and grow.
Coming back to what you said about Russian entrepreneurship and also kind of the attitude, if you think of the Finnish language in general, an entrepreneur, yrittäjä. So if you do a little literal translation of it, it's trier.
Yeah.
So instead of being an entrepreneur, hey, how's it going, trier?
Yeah.
So you're kind of trying around, you know. So
Faker.
so that might have some influence on
You have a
why
quote
they.
on this.
Yeah, I was
It's
just
good,
gonna say,
like, do or do not, there is no try.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We can always go to Star Wars. Massive wisdom. But I think that's actually a very good point. But one thing, and you already touched on kind of like the global nature. So I totally agree with one of our kind of like key strengths here in Finland is that okay, we're 5 million people, and obviously the market is tiny. So there's hopefully nobody that thinks, okay, I'm going to be like number one in Finland and be happy. I mean, if you kind of like doing a startup, then that's maybe not like great plan. And I don't think anybody kind of like thinks like that. And of course now we have kind of like great things and great examples of companies building global success here. So I kind of like post Nokia and all of that. But I think one thing that is very important then is that okay, now we have some collaboration between you guys and okay, there's lots of these entrepreneurship societies. We probably could do more, but what do you think about then, the globalization of the entrepreneurship society? So what kind of global international collaboration do you guys have? I think that's something that's super important, that we also network with the other entrepreneurship societies around the planet. So what kind of things are you guys doing there?
Well, we did our first international trip, if we could call that, and flew over to Copenhagen and met these different, mainly co-working spaces and different entrepreneurs and startups there, and trying just to, especially here at Arcada, there's a big focus on the Nordics and building cooperations there.
But
so
even like Nordic is like tiny market, but
yeah, but still, we need to start somewhere, obviously. So that's where we went, and we met Copenhagen School of Entrepreneurship and Founders House, Rocket Labs, different startup boot camp in Copenhagen, and just trying to suck the information out of them and possibly building a bridge. We have one of the next year board who is moving to Copenhagen for half a year, and it's going to be our like connection there. We have our this year's vice president is studying in KTH in Stockholm, founding a new entrepreneurship society there. So that's probably where we are at the moment. Of course, like the big dream is going to Silicon Valley with the whole crew or something like that, but obviously we have to get some funding and get things going for that. But I think it's really crucial, or maybe not crucial, but really good to build the connections now as a student, because I always tell my colleagues at our company that it's so easy for me to call anyone and say, hi, I'm a student at Arcada, you want to help me out? And everyone's like, sure, yeah, we can have lunch. And at this point, when you are like only like working or not a student, it sort of, I see the limit or the bar sort of gets a bit higher.
What we do is that we have this bootcamp called Academic Action Bootcamp, which is basically, well, like your summer startups or your startup journey. So an accelerator program for super early stage teams. And what we do with that camp every year is that we take them abroad first time was in Copenhagen and Amsterdam. So they actually got to know people from there, and we also got good contacts. And last time, Stockholm. We actually have like two reasons to do this. First one is that actually like organizing some sort of boot camp in the city you live in is a hard thing, since people are like, okay, well, it's just a day thing, I can come there, and then if I have something on top of it, I can like, just do my things, and other members of my team will take care of this and so forth. And we think that's like utter bullshit. If you're like really into this and if you really want to get it going, you need to get out of Helsinki, get out of your like comfort zone, and actually go try to sell your idea to people who don't know your cultural environment. So that's the other reason.
So Stockholm.
Well, also, yeah, but to some people that is far away, like really. If we're talking about early stage teams, you're like a world traveler.
Yeah.
It's easy for you to
just
say.
to like challenge you a little bit, because Stockholm is like home market anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. But the other reason is that that's also like good perspective for us. How are things done in other places? And also looking at that, for example, Stockholm and Copenhagen are pretty good places to find ways in which to work, since they're pretty similar societies. So they looking at, for example, public sector, they have the similar problems or challenges we have. So on that sense, it makes sense.
Yeah. But it's always good to when you go abroad, what our team and board members have seen is you get a totally different perspective from a totally new and different environment. We've had we've represented Aldius this year. Let's see, Norway, Denmark, Israel, Australia, San Francisco. We went to Startup Village in Russia. I think you were there as well. Yeah. And just to kind of taken all the information from a lot of places you can get, and we've had also visits from there as well. The people we visited in Australia and Brisbane, they came to Slush, and so it's a very mutual relationship we've been able to develop with a lot of different places.
Yeah, it's cool.
Since Southwest Finland is a bit more a province, so we can't have as much international people as you do. We mostly have the people in our activities and our accelerator are local. The way that we bring them to the world is that we're constantly having an eye out on where to improve them the best. For example, you gave a hint that now we should look out to Lisbon. That's what we're going to research next into. Our teams, we've classically taken them after accelerator. We've taken them on a trip. That's a reward for the accelerator. And we've mostly taken them to the US. They've been to the States in Silicon Valley. But for example, last 2 years, we've had the winners of our accelerator have been gaming companies. And they came to us and they told us, like, all right, we won't benefit as much from Silicon Valley as we would from Asia. And we're in contact in Japan, and now we're flying over to Japan to to find the best possible help over there. The way that we help the community, on the other hand, is that we've had different countries actually visit Boost Turku. They come over, we talk on how to found a similar entrepreneurial society over at their country and build an accelerator. And we've been pretty busy with the Baltic countries, Latvia, Lithuania, Russia's really interested, and also South Europe. So also giving back to the community.
Very, very good. So I think that, there's still like a lot to do on that front, and we really need to think much more global. But next we're going to talk about something even more important than that, and that's actually how we're going to get more women involved in entrepreneurship and startups.
Thinking about famous entrepreneurs, a few come to mind. Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and Larry Page. They're only the first ones to pop up. But what is wrong with this? There aren't any women in this list. I mean, think about it. How many women entrepreneurs can you name? But there are a few women entrepreneurs that have done really good, such as Arianna Huffington, founder of the Huffington Post, and Julia Hartz, co-founder of Eventbrite. Is there something in being an entrepreneur that does not attract women? Or is it something in the culture that does not engage women entrepreneurs? Thinking about the Finnish startup scene brings to mind the heavy technologies. A lot of companies are making apps now. Is this a reason that the heavy tech startup scene in Finland is not driving women? Is there something we could do to change the scene? Is it because the heavy tech startup scene is not attracting women? I would like to ask the entrepreneurial societies, is there anything you could do to involve more women?
Yeah, so what can we do to get more women involved? So I mean, like already here, I mean, we're like outnumbering you totally. So there's clearly something we're doing wrong here.
Yeah, luckily there's still plenty of room for my ego. Well, this is a complex question, and of course it's freaking awkward to answer it as a woman, since this is a question I hear a lot. This is a topic we've been discussing a lot. For example, I think the latest thing in Finland was when Slush was blacklisted by some feminist organization because they had no female speakers.
Yeah.
And
or let's say not enough. We had a few, but again,
the way I see it is that, yes, there are attitudes that of course affect it in the tech scene. It's pretty sexist after all. It's a boys' club. You need to have a certain attitude as a girl to like get into it. and obviously for me there's no problem since I've been to sauna with most of you guys, so so there's it's not a big thing for me. But like looking at on a more like a general level, I think also technology is still seen as a like boys thing. Like boys will wear blue shirts on that level. What I think entrepreneurship societies could do is actually, use more female speakers. That's a great thing since they actually are out there. And there are pretty few like good examples over here. Looking at Ulla Engelström from Thingling, Linda Liukas from Rails Girls, Pia-Henrietta Kekäläinen from Me Hackit, Nelli Lähteenmäki from Health Puzzle, Kiki Ylimutka, who was recently like her startup failed, but she's still like going on strong. So there is
Tiina
actually,
Aspiala, FI, and there's lots and lots.
So forth. So there are a lot of them. It's just call them every now and then.
I agree with Eli on the fact that we need more to raise those stories up to the public's eye.
It's all about role models.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the way Aalto ES got started was Aalto ES Talks. And we had an entrepreneur CEO tell their journey and how they became entrepreneurs. And you can't tell someone, especially females, that you have to do something.
You're just scared of me.
Kind of. But the passion has to come from within. And listening to a talk and looking at someone and thinking like, hey, she was sitting here 10 years ago, and I could be there in 10 years. That's really what I think we should try to tackle, is that get those role models up there, and the passion has to come from within instead of saying we need more women in entrepreneurship. They need to start thinking, maybe I could try entrepreneurship since they already succeeded.
I think there was something fundamentally funny or weird about the question itself. Why don't more women do entrepreneurship? I'm thinking, what's stopping women from presenting themselves as female entrepreneurs? Most of the thing, as you made the case that a lot of women that are in entrepreneurship, they have to sort of like emulate male behavior to get in there. I'm asking for women to take their sort of own line and sort of to use the beautiful demography that they're offered and to sort of start innovating on what their own needs are. And I'm still waiting for women to step forward. Like I've seen Linda Liukas, which is also one of the founders of Boost Turku. I think is doing a beautiful job. But for that question, I think we're also in a very nice place to be. Like you look at Finland, we've had a female president. We've been a forerunner in female empowerment, and arguably that's been one of the biggest sources of our development for the past 100 years. Basically, we've doubled our workforce by allowing women entrance to resources. But they're still sort of, I'm feeling kind of bad for women because they're still sort of like emulating what they're expecting men to see from them. I would really like to see women to sort of take things into their own hands and start building businesses of their own that wouldn't necessarily deal with male anthropology and culture.
That's a great point. But then again, if you come to an entrepreneur society that has its own working culture that is pretty like male dominant in a sense, the way of working is well, it's as said, a boys' club. So still, like it's not only about women. Why don't you do this? But it's also about like why is it that the culture isn't changing even with the female members of the community that come in? Why isn't the culture changing to a way where a female could actually like feel that okay, this is my place and this is my thing? So
I think that we have built like a really good base here at Arcada. I feel like someone, please correct me, but I feel that we have a good like female percentage of the group, and which I think is really important, and we have really tried to like push it forward, and that's the like main thing that we hear at the events. Could you have some females, female entrepreneurs come and tell their story and sort of how did you get there type of thing as these Aalto ES talks.
Yeah, the thing we did when I was picking our board for this year, we had three guys and 3 girls. I think that was the first time it was a 50-50 split, but that's really important because, again, it's like going abroad, but if you get totally different perspectives.
Yeah. But have you had any women run Aalto ES like ever.
Yeah, like one.
So exactly. So we had one out of how many now? It's
7, yeah.
yeah. Okay. Like it's okay. but
A good start, one might say.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that it's always. I mean, yes, we can say that. Okay, like why don't women do more and like all of that. But I still think that we need to do more as well. And I really think that it's kind of like the same in general. If you look at with startups in Finland. So now, everybody basically believes or actually knows that we are the best in the world at making games. But then if you can like forget Rovio and Supercell, then there's like actually nothing in our DNA, or there's nothing why we would be better at making games in Finland, but we just like believe so. And I think that again, role models are very important, because then you see that okay, if these guys can do it, anybody can, so I can do it as well. So I think that's something that we really need to do a lot more on highlighting then kind of like female entrepreneurs and kind of like CEOs, and I think that that's something that we. Of course, I mean, as you said, yes, women can do anything and all of that, but I really think that we need to do a bit of an extra effort there to kind of like highlight.
I actually have a challenge for you guys, and actually you guys as well, who are running teams and doing team leading and running entrepreneur societies. I don't know if you like noticed, but often like women end up doing support stuff, HR, marketing, PR, that sort of things. Next time you're actually organizing something, put a female to a role where she needs to take care of the investor contacts or take care of the speakers. Like that's a thing that people often do. You're a girl, take care of the media. That happens constantly. So challenge for you out there. Give them a task that is kind of
out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, but
since that's what you do with all your other team members.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you think that that the tasks are usually given or taken by the females? So do you think it's sort of, because I think that or at Arcada there has been quite good like this, and I've been dropping bombs on people like you just take care of this, like same with this whole thing. I sort of haven't heard that much, and I know that everything is working out pretty well. But do you think that it's like talking about PR and marketing, that usually like there's the girl stepping up that say that I want to do the marketing, or is it so that the last thing left is the marketing, and then you pick, there's the girl in the back row, you put it on her? Or
come on, like marketing is the most important thing, so why would that be last?
Exactly. No, but I think that isn't all in the same way. Should throw the challenge to everyone to grab the get out of your comfort zone, and even if you're male or female, doesn't matter.
Also guys, do the marketing side.
Yeah,
it's pretty teaching.
Yeah.
Very good, but we could talk about this kind of like all night. But it's I think that it's again it's important that we recognize that we can do more.
Yeah.
But actually next we'll have a short break, and then we'll talk about like rock stars and attitude.
When you think of Finnish entrepreneurs, Sedu Koskinen, Jari Sarasvuo, or maybe even Hjallis Harkimo come to mind. But ask an American, they might say Steve Jobs, Larry Page, or even Richard Branson. We could agree on that Sarasvuo and Hjallis aren't really seen as the rock stars as the other entrepreneurs. Young people here in Finland don't really see the entrepreneurs as idols. Why are we so bitter and jealous towards our entrepreneurs? Why aren't we inspired by them? Having someone to look up to is a very important inspirational tool. And right now, we don't have too many in Finland. But it has been changing. Rovio and Supercell have gained a huge international image, and they are looked up to. I would like to ask you in Entrepreneur Society, is there anything you can do to help and inspire other entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so what can we do about the attitudes and kind of like, do we have enough rock stars in the entrepreneurship side?
No, we don't. We should have more.
Definitely.
Like, seriously, we should have more. And that's actually, I think, one of our most important tasks, to actually lift the cool guys and girls up.
Yeah. And have people like be, but this is again the Finnish thing, like, well, haven't done so much, and you know, you should be able to sell yourself a lot better. That's why, like, I love speaking with Americans. We have a few from abroad and here at Arcada, and they are always like open and telling, and we can sell. Yeah, exactly. And Finns are like, well, I have this.
That's the Protestant heritage that we have. In Russia, for example, when you get money out of your first venture, the first thing you get is a nice attire, get a car, maybe you notice it here. But in Finland, it seems to be the least. So first of all, you get your safety fixed, and then you sort of start showing off.
Yeah.
And we need to kind of, you know, well, one of the main goals of the Finnish society is sort of that we're all very equal.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't see the success of other people as making others unequal. It's just something to, you know, to aspire people basically to, you know, to build themselves even further. But arguably, this point of having attitude changes is one of the biggest targets that we're having in Boost Turku, because we've noticed that the most successful startup people, when you go to Europe or Silicon Valley, they're a bit older than what students tend to be when they enter entrepreneurial societies. They're around 35, so they've sort of understood the system of a particular field in order to innovate it better. But when students come in and they're fed this stuff in academia that they can't really use because they're being taught some strategic level thinking that they won't be able to employ in their working life, and they're desperately looking for role models. The way that people learn is basically we learn by mimicking. You need to find a mentor, find the best possible person to, you know, to harden your iron, and then learn from them. And this sort of attitude thinking of what we're teaching to people is basically based around you will fail. It's quite cool to try. You won't be taken seriously unless you have a couple of, you know, hits under your belt, a couple of notches, so to say. So just, you know, just hang in there, you know, sustain yourself.
Yeah, about the attitude, actually, two things. First of all, I went to kindergarten in the States, and you have this thing called show and tell there. So every Friday, you take your basketball, soccer ball, your dad, your dead rat, or whatever, you know, and you share it to the class. You're like, hey, look, this is what in Finland we don't have that. We're very quiet in the sense and that's why a lot of the VCs are in Silicon Valley, because they know how to present their case.
Yeah.
And point number two is that what I've noticed is the fear of failure. That a lot of people fear failure, and what we try to teach our startups is what is failure if you really think of it? Failure and success come hand in hand. Yeah. If there's no success, there's no failure, and vice versa. So failure really means that you've grabbed the opportunity to succeed. What's wrong in grabbing the opportunity to succeed? Nothing at all.
Risk. Yeah.
Nothing at all.
There's been a statistic that companies that have failed more are statistically more profitable than the ones that have had a smooth ride upstairs, because they don't know for the valley that's up to come. And they're likely more resilient because they've had more times when they have to stay lean in their sort of methodology.
But like looking at like individuals, I think one thing is what we actually discussed before. This is a small country. It's really, really hard to like look up to someone who actually is just like each and every one of us, and that's I think one thing that is pretty deeply in the Finnish culture. That, you know, the great examples we look up to are something like sports stars or singers or actors. Those type of people who aren't like us. Yeah. They're like little special, but you know,
they're
entrepreneurs.
allowed tax evasion as well, unlike entrepreneurs.
So I think that's also one thing, since when people share their stories, you actually like we at the same time try to give them the image of, you know, this is like any one of you, so you can make it, but at the same time we should like, well, this is someone you should look up to. Yeah. So it's kind of a like mixed message that people might be receiving from that, and it's not as easy thing, and it's not only about about Finns being jealous, but also about us being like, hey, people are people.
Yeah.
You know, celebrities from all over the world are coming to Finland to have a holiday since no one like cares. If Benedict Cumberbatch walks like across you on Esplanade, you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
But if he talks, then everybody notices.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But about the jealousy thing, I was in elementary school and in the States, and I made a presentation about jealousy, and I was comparing American jealousy to Finnish jealousy. And if an American sees that your neighbor has a nice car, it's like, damn, I'm gonna work harder and get myself a better car. If a Finn sees it, they're gonna call the tax man. So it is, and we need to definitely change these aspects that we're talking about, or these characteristics, or not change, they're good in a sense too, but to develop them.
But going back to the people to look up to, I think here again what is a really big role for us, and I've been doing it a lot, is to finding people with ideas within the community here, especially at Arcada, and using my network and the staff's network and so on to find the right people. So, okay, you want to start this. Okay, let me scroll through my LinkedIn or phone numbers. Maybe I can hook you up with someone who might know something about this thing that you want to do. And in that sense, I've been like really lucky to be introduced to a lot of good people that have been able to help me within the way to coming here and hopefully in the future as well. And I think that is, but you have to do some work yourself, you know. No one is going to usually offer you the help, but if you ask for it, someone's definitely going to help you.
I'd like to elaborate. What Eli said, that on one hand you can never outshine your master, so to say, that even when you have a master or mentor, you shouldn't try to position yourself as better than them. But I think that Finland is the sort of, hierarchically we're so low that anybody can pretty much talk to anybody. And I've seen people that are just freshmen out of college. They've thought of some companies, and in 2 days they're going to meet the most prestigious person in that field in Finland and talk to them like we're talking now, just sipping something. And in other countries you'd have to pass off layers through different gatekeepers, organization, etc., etc. So what we spoke about the markets before, the small market that we have enables this sort of connectiveness, and we're all sort of fueling the same fire, so to say. But
on the other hand, I see that we already sort of have the entrepreneurial superstars. Since I remember Ilkka Paananen giving this Aalto talk in 2013 in the fall, like just a few weeks before they got the huge investments or did the exits. And actually, like, Ilkka couldn't get out of the building for an hour since everyone was like, hey, let's take a picture, see, this is me and Ilkka Paananen. And, Twitter exploded.
He's gotten kind of to some level.
So this is like emerging, but as I said, I think it's a part of, what you said about the low hierarchy. We don't have that. And it's like actually taught us as early as in elementary school. We talk to our teachers like by the first names. Yeah. And that's like super unusual on a global level. So it's kind of also a big part of our culture.
Yeah.
I don't remember who. I got some advice last year before getting elected into this position, and someone said that, Kasper, think they're eating the same rye bread as you do. Yeah. And every time when I see people like him, I'm thinking that in the morning when you wake up, it's the same pack of rye bread. Yeah. And that kind of...
Yeah, if you have time for breakfast.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of given at least me the courage to talk to other people.
Yeah, but I think that's it's a very kind of like Finnish thing, and I think that's actually super good that everybody is very, very approachable, and there's not like a lot of hierarchy. I mean, you can call anybody, and most of the phone numbers are not even like secret, so just look it up and then so I think that's something that's super good. But I think one thing here that we still have a lot of work to do. So like when I do presentations to students here in Finland and ask them about, okay, how many of you guys want to be running your own company, starting your own startup and all of that. And it actually was like in 2007, I did that to 600 Aalto students, and only 3 hands went up when I asked the question. And when I do the same presentation like in Stanford, like people raise like both hands. And yes, of course, me. And now it's better. I mean, last year I asked the same question, and like half the hands went up. So like we're making progress, and it's actually like pretty good for like 6 years. But of course, we want to have a situation where like everybody, that's what you want to do. You want to start your company and not be like a hockey player or something like that. But we're running out of time here, so I guess good summary is that we're making progress. We're off to a good start, but 15 entrepreneurship sites in Finland. That's like. Is that like way too many or way too few? I don't know, but they're all doing great jobs. So stay tuned for more amazing startups, more amazing stories out of Finland.
Thanks.